This program features live coverage of an African safari and may include animal kills and carcasses. Viewer discretion is advised.
Good morning, everybody. Welcome to Juma Private Game Reserve. This morning, we're actually looking at the impalas, which they are in this little open area, feeding about. And with the wind that is... Good morning, everybody. Welcome to Juma Private Game Reserve. Here, where it's a little windy this morning, but we got impalas there on the open area. I think this is where they spend most of their time this morning without doing any much. And then we're going to find out, because it's very wind. In the meantime, this is where we're going to be welcoming everybody. Jump aboard to your very own safari through the African wild. Good morning, everybody. Very welcome to Juma Private Game Reserve. This morning, we begin into one of the open area with impalas. You can see how they puffed up a little bit of their coat because of the cold that actually is coming from the south to the north. And then this way, it does look like it's going to be much of a cold. And most of the animals, they will spend a lot of the time. My name is Andrew. On camera, I have BK this morning. So it does look like it's going to be one of the colder morning this morning for sure. And with impalas, looking at their skin being very fluffy like these. So, we love to hear from you guys this morning. If you can send us your questions, you can use hashtag WildEarth on Twitter, and also at FC. And then if you are age of 18 years old, which is under the age, you can still send us a question, but using a kid's question at WildEarth.tv. Oh, it's pretty wind. I'm going to try and make sure that everybody hear me. And also, simple thing is to actually go on WildEarth website. You register, and then from there you have submit questions. Of course, this one is going to be myself and Lauren on the side. We're going to be interacting with everybody. So everybody, sorry about the pixelation there and the pictures, but you still got us while we're still looking at. I'm actually stationary here, and then just to look at the impala, how they react. I know they may spend a lot of time in this open area. Maybe they've been disturbed, maybe they haven't. But with the wind, it's not easy for them to move for now. They will probably spend time in this open area, grazing about. This is where the cats more likely to be happy about when it's windy. looks like here we also have 2 males in this group, and they are very much getting along together there. It's actually not actually big high rim. It's very small high rim. And it's just an amazing how they love each other, especially with the young one that is there, young male. But for sure, they would need a cover. But how are they going to find a cover with this wind like that? We'll find out. It's so cool that, because then with the wind blowing from the south, then they have to be on the northern side of it, the cover, if it's there, tree around, and they'll stay warm. So everybody, if you can quickly have a look at the weather. So now they all started to graze. Maybe there is more on the other side, because here there's a 2 separation of this open area. There's another open area on the far left of where they are, and they actually been keeping looking there. But with the cats, when it's like this, there would be maybe foraging a lot last night, because the wind started last night, not this morning. So cat species, they love walking through the wind, because then they can hunt very well, and they always approach the wind because there's a chance of them smell whatever's in front of them. It's amazing. Some of them aren't really fluffy. It's because maybe they've been running around, which they do that with the weather. When it's cold, the impalas do play, jump up and run around in the open area. In the end, they got very warm. So that's why, and some of them you will see less of the fluffy here on their coat. But some, mainly, they are still fluffy. So we're gonna check, when we check around, we're gonna be looking for cats, elephants. And even these elephants, sometimes with a weather like this, you will find it very difficult to even spot them, because they go into the dip where the wind goes slowly in there. In a cat species, you're more likely to come across them maybe behind impala. That's why we're more likely to spend time with such an antelope. It's just the male is still happy with another male there together. I always say these things about impala. They're very interesting antelope, where the breeding that takes place, they only take place in certain months of all of them, depending on the area in the region. We're out here around just beginning of the winter. It actually right, where the males chase the females, breed, and then of course that mountain only take probably a month, and then get pregnancy for about 6 months, a pregnancy period for impalas. And they are medium source of food for most predators out there, but that is also include type of python, the snakes, and also these hyena, all carnivore species, except for these sable, and they're so small to catch them. But otherwise, leopard, lions, wild dogs, cheetahs, they all aim to hunt such antelopes.
Good morning, everyone. I must say it is not a pleasant morning here in Juma. The wind is absolutely howling. The clouds are really heavy, really dark, which means lack of ambient light. But we're out and about. My name is Lauren, and I'm Davi on camera, and we're on the heels of Miss Kalamba. We've got her tracks going east on Central. And I mean, I don't know if I'm setting myself up to fail here, but we are going to try and see if we can find where she went. Last night got a little bit complicated. I do believe Kalamba was on the dam cam, but Mulwati was found just in front of the lodge, more sort of on the western side towards Galagopan, going through that drainage. So what that means is there was 2 leopards in the area last night, not just Kalamba, and that's why it got a little bit confusing. But we do see her tracks. She did walk on Central. So we're just going to see if we can scratch around and see where she went. Will we find her? I don't know, especially on a day like this with strong winds and lack of ambient light, but we shall try. Let us bumble. It is really, really a gloomy morning. I find it hard without the lack of light. James Richard, it would be very, very nice to catch up with Kalamba. Lots of speculation going on around Kalamba right now, but I'm not going to fall into that trap. I think I need to spend some time with her. Yeah, we've definitely lost her tracks, which means she cut off. Sorry, I'm talking to myself. We definitely need to spend some time with her before we sort of dive into that topic. If Kalamba doesn't want to be found, she will absolutely not be found. But luckily we do know her movements. We do know where she likes to hang out, so I am going to try and do my very, very best to find her. I'm going to bumble into the Mulwati and see if we can pick up on any signs of her. And her tracks are tiny. They're so small for, a predator that's at the top of the food chain, takes down impalas like this one. It's really her tracks are. Look relaxed. Sorry about the pixelation there. I don't know what happened. Sometimes just these impala are far too relaxed. And behind them, actually to the right of them is that big huge jackal-bird. You see that big green tree? And that's the tree that we've had Kalamba on with a kill quite a few times. She really does like to use this drainage line. But I am going to hop out now. I do need to look at the ground. I find it quite difficult, especially with lack of light. Oh no, I'm attached. Why do I always forget I'm attached to cables? There we go. Especially with lack of light. But junctions are really, really important. I mean, they're junctions for us, I guess, but they're actually always also junctions for the animals. So it's a good place to stop to figure out, did she go on the right fork? Did she go on the left fork? And I'm really not seeing her tracks anymore, not at all. She's cut off. But from a vehicle, we're quite high up on these cars, believe it or not. And it makes it quite difficult to see the ground. And you can see the ground, but when you're working with really, really low ambient light like we are today, it's just going to be a little bit tricky. I'm going to... Maybe that's going to happen, guys. I will wait. Earth lover, remember, winter's normal, summer's normal. Does the cold temperature affect you in your country? You get cold. Often and whatnot. But not really, they will adapt. You've always got to remember, unless something is extreme, like all the sort of weather patterns we are experiencing from our climate changing. Cyclones, El Niños, earthquakes, they all seem to be increasing in frequency and sort of intensity, if you like, because our climate is changing. You can't deny that. And anything that's not part of the usual weather pattern would affect the animals, absolutely. But they adapt. They go through the seasonal changes. It's normal. Ever since any organism has been born, really, they will experience the hot summers, where it's hot, it's humid, it's sticky, and then they will, of course, experience cold winters. And their body physiologically, naturally adapts for that. I mean, maybe weaker animals, if it did get far too cold, maybe weaker animals who were sick anyway would struggle, but on the whole, animals do sort of adapt to all conditions out here because it's normal. I mean, we complain about the weather because we're humans, but generally speaking, these weather patterns, August is always said to be a windy month. So that's normal for the animals out here, to have a windy month. Okay, we're going to go in here and see what we can find. I do know Miss Kalamba's hidey spots, or at least a handful of them, a paw full of them. So yes, I wouldn't imagine it would make animals sick just because it's cold. If you had a really particularly cold year due to climatic variation and it went, sub-zero temperatures, which is not normal or not on the average, then that would maybe affect the animals. But just a normal winter, no. Adaptations. That's what survival's all about. The conditions are just horrible today, but it's nice to be in the Milwaukee. Love it in here. Jessie, you mustn't be a daily watcher. It was just recently. Last week, I think. The days do run into one here, I'm not going to lie. It's, I don't even know what day it is today, but it was just last week we had him. It was really not so long ago, and Andrew was following his tracks also. He's around. He's spending some time on Juma, Mr. Nomad. Okay, since the cyclone, this part of the Mowati got slightly damaged. But let's just see if it's doable. Doable? Just making sure my cameraman feels safe. We've had Klalamba with kills many times in this part of the Mowati. We did it. Okay, I just want to scratch around this area. It's quite an important area for us. This in front might not look like much, actually. It's probably not going to look like much at all. But right here is Purple Eye's old den. And Aunt Handy used it for a while with Mareebs. It really doesn't look exciting at all. But it was actually a great den site for the lions. Tandy brought Mareebs here when he was a little bit older. And Klalamba does like to hang out here. If her tracks cut into the Mowati, then she could be somewhere in the Mowati. But unfortunately, the bridge that connects this area to the rest of the Mowati collapsed. So we're not going to be able to drive it. Or we could drive it, we'd just probably get stuck. Gee, I guess I've been doing this a long time. We're hyper aware of our surroundings. Hypersensitive. Smells, sound, tracks, knowledge of what went down last night. But I guess any guide across the board doesn't really know. Nobody really knows if it's safe, I guess, but we're just hyper aware. You know, we're always checking, looking, smelling, listening. It's tricky when we're live. We've been doing this a long time. You sort of train yourself to become hyper aware. Do you think we're able to go around this side stop and get a look, or not possible? This way. Okay, sorry, we're just discussing on how we can just have a look at this area. I think some of you may be suspicious as to what I'm doing, and you have every right to be suspicious. I actually didn't realize you could get up on this embankment. I've actually never seen it from this side. This fallen over log, I guess I'm taking a trip down memory lane here. I have a photo of Mareebs as a tiny little cub on this exact log. Here. He wasn't teeny tiny, but he was small. She kept him here for days. I'm just going to listen for a moment. It's hard to hear with this window, even for us. But listening's important. Sometimes your ears have got to just battle that wind. And we have an extra advantage on this car because our cameraman is hooked up to our microphone, which is rather unfortunate when you're eating or having a carrot. I eat a lot of carrots on board, and the cameramen do not love that. But it means that their audio of the surrounding is amplified. So very often your cameraman will hear things through your microphone that you might have missed.
Back with us again, everybody. Just so sorry about what happened there with Lauren. But you got us back. So we actually still on search here. Since we left these impalas, there was a few sets of tracks of predators, which was wild dogs came into an area, but doesn't look fresh. The tracks probably maybe middle of the night. There's been sand over the tracks, but you could see they been also. I think male lion also, he has been around here. It was also sets of one leopard track. So we're just gonna drive around, and look around very much on the grasses, because there happens maybe they just, with the leopard, they would be very well camouflaged through grasses. So I'm gonna drive slow, have a look around, so we don't miss that leopard. Or that male, maybe the male lions would be a duck mane. And all of these, they actually use the same roads, which is amazing. I understand that the dogs has actually moved first, and then the lions secondly, and the leopard third. So it's going to be very interesting looking around for these cats. Which is cool, so we got something to work on. So sorry about that, all technical issue that was happening earlier on. Yeah, you got us still on search for animals. Not sure if I got lucky of finding one of them, whether it would be a duck mane, whether it would be the leopard, whether it would be the dogs. I know the dogs sometimes, they're always running. So if we still find them in a property, we'll be so lucky. Also, it means that they've been maybe stuck around for quite some times. But there are dogs always on the move, very much active animals. And I'm just can't be sure which packs, if then also was a few tracks there, more than 4 of them, so it could be more than the packs that maybe we've seen around here. We'll find out. So such a cloudy day, windy, it would affect a little bit in terms of the game viewing, especially even the cats. We know they would be mobile about, but so they, depending on how far from the road, if you just miss them in a busy stalking, then you miss that sighting. But also prey species, they're more likely to be well hidden. If it's a chance they find themselves in a thicket, they're just gonna freeze there, because then it's warm and those will be on the open. They weren't gonna do much as well, so they're gonna just stay in the open. But it's not drizzling, so it's just the wind that is taking place, which everything should be fine. So we'll be checking all the termite mounds, because they also use these cats. They will repose up on top of the termite mound for the better view around themselves, but at the same time they may just go into these tall grasses and vanish, or just sleep in there. Allowing in pride, it's also so important, because then if they're not doing such a movement, they would combine as a group, cuddly as well, for a warmer. Just not too sure what happened to entire Talamati since they were in Beblusuk. I think they were in Beblusuk there. Maybe also have made their way back into Juma. We haven't also found out, because we haven't driven all the boundaries. I just follow that tracks that we come across after those impala we've seen back there. And all these tracks are headed towards quarantine, and from there they're separated. Where the dog had kind of more to the south, and maybe that's where Lawrence is working there. So we'll be checking in this area. If we don't find them anything we're gonna spend time with, it will be great. This is the northern boundary. We're just going to check a little bit. So we keep checking around. I'm just gonna check the watering hole here. No, for the cats, they're drinking this time of the morning. We'll be very surprised. But, you know, because we're looking for the animal, then we have to check everywhere we could, because we don't know where they are. Also drink water when they want in a cooler day. And there is nothing here that's happening. For sure, so we're gonna go back to the main road, carry on check. So when we do go to the boundary, we will check slightly more to the west. Back inside Juma again, and then relocate on these tracks where they were totally lost side of these tracks. I don't have them.
Warm welcome to all our viewers to a not so warm Ngala this morning. It's actually quite cold. You can see there's a lot of grey clouds at the moment. so not a lot of light. So I'm Nikki, I'm going to be a ranger this morning, and on drive, on the camera we have Morgan. It says it's good morning. So what our plans would be for this morning is we're actually going to head down towards the river and see if there's any signs of the Birmingham Pride this morning. Also, if there's any signs of leopard, we're going to try our absolute best and see if we can get them. Now, with light like this, it sometimes makes it really hard to track, because you can imagine there's no shadows that are cast over the track. So sometimes you can just drive and you'll drive over the track without even being able to see it. So we have to slow ourselves down and then just look out for any signs or disturbance in the road that might tell us that an animal is fast. Now, with the pride of lions, hopefully, because there's more than 5-6 lions, there'll be disturbance to be able to see where they've crossed over. If it's sometimes just one lion or a leopard, you might not see it, because you can imagine if the road is over without seeing it. So that's going to be our plan. With it being quite windy and overcast, most of the more common animals will also tend to move into denser areas where they can find a bit of shelter out of the wind. So we might, as we go down to the river, start seeing more and more animals. At the moment, we haven't seen too much, but as I'm saying, as we go into the river, maybe we'll start seeing it. Now, the area where we have seen tracks of the lions, as well as where the lions were last seen, is probably going to take us in the next 20-25 minutes to get into the area. But in the meantime, let's head across to Andrew.
So we're still checking the northern boundary here, but this is actually just to finalize check whether that a duckman has crossed this way up to the north, and if he hasn't, then he probably still maybe inside Juma. There hasn't actually been much of a report of any tracks since we saw those tracks back there. So I'm going to go back to where we just lost the tracks. But the reason, we don't stick in one place a lot is that the tracks was on the road all the time, and then that animal would be maybe moving all the time. So it was not actually a hunting mood where we just saw where he just scent mark spray through these bushes. And it's very usual for lions, male lion, to leave the pride for a time being, and then he would carry on, do his own things. This reactivation of the scent is another process they need to practice. You need to complete all his boundaries before you return back to his pride. Because once it's not activated, that's where sometimes it doesn't stay for a long time. Oh, it's very windy. We've got kudus on the right hand side. We're gonna just to see if maybe they will be static for us, but they're also confused because of the wind, as you can see how they look at us like that. I can tell you for sure the wind is blowing very strong, but it's amazing how these antelope, they are looking directly to the wind. It's how actually gives them an idea of what they can smell right in front of them. And they would move towards the wind if it's necessary. One of these young males. They're more active somewhere. Another one where the horns are different. Other one's well developed. Another one just a couple of inches up. Heather, so you're asking what are the main difference between the kudu and the Ngala? So Ngala, they're not that tall, and then they don't have really tall legs like these, and their coat, it's not always grey for the Ngala. Even there, in the males and the females difference on Ngala, where males dark, but very hairy as well. But the females very yellow, with vertical stripe that is still there, but they're a lot shorter than Ngala. The rain, so alright, so they're gone. Looks like it's gonna be like these the whole entire day. Find animals and they'll disappear. So yeah, that's what the difference. So kudu, they're larger, but they're always grey, and the vertical stripe. Male and female will have those the same color. So Ngala, males dark, the females yellow with a stripe also still. Where male also with the Ngalas, there's a little vertical stripe that is still there. But both species, they prefer a covered. With the kudu especially, they are browsers. When they come out to the open, it's when they want, or maybe change place to another, but they're always in the bush, thick bush. Oops. Let's go across to Nikki and Ngala.
We just stopped now. There were some black-backed jackals that just crossed over the road, and they started heading into this big open grassland. So we're trying to see if we can get them. There they are. So what I enjoy about these black-backed jackals is, like, of course, if you look on their back, you'll see that grey silver back with that black stripe on the side as well. And then if you follow down that black tip at the end of the tail. Now, I know in this area there used to be a male and female, and they had quite a few youngsters. And I wonder if these are possibly the youngsters that have grown up. Look at how they're chasing each other. Well, I wouldn't mind moving like that this morning because it is quite cold. But with them moving off, let's carry on with our lion search. We had some lion tracks in the river, which is just off to this side. Unfortunately, because the wind is blowing so strong, it's hard to tell how old they are, because even fresh tracks would be covered very quickly. So I think for now, probably going to head across and see if there's any other signs of the pride. It is a beautiful day in terms of going out and looking for animals, but it is also quite a miserable day when you look at how the wind is blowing, how cold it is. but you just never know what you're going to find. So I'd love to know from the viewers, is there anything in particular that you're hoping to see on this drive? I mean, any of the leopards, maybe some of the lions. Please send those comments through so we know what where we should try and focus our search this morning. So, I mean, I'd love to see most of the animals, but I'd also love to know from the viewers what you're hoping to see as we go. What am I hoping to see, Morgan? So Morgan says to ask me, what am I hoping to see? So I am hoping to see some lions. Well, impala here in a wildebeest. Let me just position the vehicle like this. Now I look like that impala between the herd and the wildebeest. You'll see how fluffed up it is. It looks like it's a bit of a different color in comparison to the rest. And you know, like how cold we get goosebumps? Similar happens to these impalas, like how that one will puff up their hair in order to trap some of the heat. And most of the impala now, you'll see also they're quite heavily pregnant, because round about towards the end of October, we'll probably see a lot around. You can see this lone wildebeest. Probably a bull that's joined up with impala because of that, safety and numbers. But remember earlier as we were driving, you said the wind is picking up, so what they try and do is move into more denser areas. So you can see where they are now, they're covering these open areas in front of them.
Every year in August, South Africa marks Women's Month. WildEarth would like to acknowledge and thank all the amazing females who have worked tirelessly to share our nature with the world.
We're gonna have to just wait, okay? She's gonna come out there just on my right-hand side, and she can see these impala.
Now you've got to inhale it. It burns. I don't know if it's supposed to work instantly. Go, girl, go. Get her. Get her, girl. Get her. I'm so looking forward to following her story in the future.
I'm really hoping there's two. I'm really hoping there's two. But you know, even if there's one, oh my goodness, everyone.
And I get to share it with you. Isn't that extra special? I get to experience it and show it to everyone.
We got there, he had probably moved a couple of 100 meters down the river and was about 10 meters from this causeway. So I radioed the lodge quickly and just asked them to bring a Land Cruiser around and some tow straps. So we thought we were going to try be heroes and save this giraffe. And now a big bull, probably over a ton. He's a big unit. I got the tow strap one side of the giraffe and managed to get it around him with the boat, and the other edge of the tow strap obviously back onto the bank. So we made this U around him because he was lying quite close to the bank. And we put that Land Cruiser in low range and we just gave it hell and pulled that giraffe, and the tow strap slipped up and we thought, oh no, it's going to slip off the top of the head, and it caught on his ossicones at the top. And that last 10 meters pulled him out onto the bank, and he battled. He was obviously quite weak and all that.
Looks like it's a very difficult climb because every time it tries to climb, the ground is breaking, so it slides down. But it's the only one. Look at that. That is a call of desperation with a cub. It's like, what are you doing, mommy? Oops. Oof.
Expect the unexpected here on WildEarth. daily.
So we still haven't got lucky yet on our search. And then we still keep searching around here. We haven't really given up yet. We came back to the position. We saw the dog's tracks. And then also that male lion, his tracks was also seen around here. Male impalas here. Just looks like a lone male impala. Doubt if it's maybe. It's probably separated for now away from the rest of the group. Oh, I don't know. What could be maybe separate them is that they maybe get chased off. Maybe last night they haven't been joined up. It's gonna be like very difficult for a impala, especially when they're not sure about what is happening around themselves. All they do, they're just gonna run around, and they even run from nothing sometimes due to the weather. Got the tracks over here. Able to recognize their young, so they can, but a lot of time with impalas, the way the breed is very complicated, and then sometimes the gene pool could be mixed, but doesn't matter. There is nothing happens like what happened to a cat, where they don't tolerate somebody else's gene pool. So most antelopes, it seems to be all okay when it comes to that. They would tolerate somebody else's gene pool, and many of them, they can interbreed as well, so that's what sometimes make it easy for them not to worry about somebody else's offspring. So we have entered the quarantine, the western side, and the last track was still heading straight directly of where we're going still. Now with the dogs, the tracks are dogs, but those ones, since they always run, you know, if you find them, they may happen that they static and they've been lying around all night, because when they don't feel like moving too much in the dark, they will lie down. We're going to go check on them, how they react, whether they haven't seen anything in terms of a cat, whether they've been maybe disturbed by any of these cats, that the predators that we are following around here. But with the dogs, they don't really care. They don't stalk very much, the wild dogs. The hunting method is different to a cat's. They wouldn't ambush so much, they would just ran into the prey species, no matter how far. Sometimes provides, such as an antelope, that love being in this area because of the wide open area, trust so much that they can see better, and it's true, they can see better. I think if I understand your question there, you're asking what the animal is best in carrying all the species. So, animal that cares so much of each other is the buffaloes in a herd, lions in the pride. That carry so much. Those most impala, they won't do a lot of that. If one cannot move, then will separate and left behind. And then result in maybe not able to join the group if that animal's unable to move. So buffaloes, lions, and elephants. So 3 of these species, they are the one that they have much care of one another. So everybody, we're just gonna take a silent moment here, also to listen to all of these wind that we may hear about, but also at the same time looking at these impalas foraging through. everybody seems to be very quiet, and wind that's picking up. And then we're going to continue search around the southern side of Quarantine upwards.
We had tracks of 3 lionesses coming down towards where we are driving now, and we haven't seen any tracks crossing now, but it's also hard because of the wind. It might be that these tracks could be covered. You can imagine that there's a bit of soft sand where the imprint's made and the wind blows over it, it will cover that track. And also because of the fact that it's still overcast, makes it slightly harder to track. Now, we are going to be trying to see if we can spot these lines. I think that's going to be ideal, but also if there is a chance where we can get some fresher tracks, it would be worth it tracking it. Now, the tracks might be from the Birmingham Pride. It could be from the youngsters, you know, like the ones, the sub-adults that have currently moved or started moving away from the Pride. It could be their tracks, because it looks like there were only 3 tracks, but they could have split up, and 3 have gone where we saw the tracks, and a few others could have gone via like a different road where we just didn't see the tracks at all. So let's have a good look as we move into this area. You'll see the habitat was going from quite a dense area to more open sections. I'm just trying to see as we go along. You'll see me now and again just staring down to the ground to see if there's any tracks. It's quite amazing with the Birmingham Pride. We've noticed that over the last little while they've been hunting quite a bit. The other week they killed 3 buffaloes in 3 days. Like then they were on the giraffe carcass, and then after that just the day after they were on the giraffe carcass, they already had a kudu bull. So they've just been moving and making quite a few kills as they were going along the way. And now I'm just hoping that we'll be able to find them again, especially the white lions. I haven't seen them in at least 4 or 5 days. So I just want to go down this particular road here. So we had those lion tracks coming this direction. So I haven't seen anything crossing a road like this. So now I'm going down to see if I can have any other signs of the lions. Now I do know there are other rangers also looking for them. So we're going to work together to try and see like where they've gone and try and put the puzzle together. Now often with tracking lions, I do enjoy it. It feels like this little mystery game that you try and figure out what has happened. So you first find tracks, they go in a specific direction. You start asking yourself the question, why are they going there? What is the reason for it? Sometimes let's say if you follow the lion tracks and they're going into a straight line and they're not veering off to the left or right, you might assume, okay, these lions are probably going to water, or maybe they've made a kill. They've gone back, got the cubs, and they know exactly where they need to go. So there's no need for them to divert from their route. Where if you follow the tracks and they go off the road and come back on the road and go off or spread up and come back, it tells me that these lions are probably hunting. And so you can tell a lot of the behavior by just looking at the tracks and figuring out exactly what the tracks are doing at that very moment. And then slowly you start putting the story together until you find them. Oh, there's a giraffe right here. Well, at least we spotted her. Imagine how embarrassing we're looking for lions and we just drove past a giraffe. There's 2 giraffes here, actually. What I'm going to do, there is a tree that's in the way. Let me try and move slightly back. Morgan, there might be a gap through here. And there's one, this one might even be a better view. That's right in front of us. So I'm just going to lean out of the way here. So let's have a look and see what this giraffe would be up to. You can see how it's turning around, head down. Might be that there's a tree on that side that we'll be interested in, like we can see there. If you look at the one off to the right, see the direction she's moving now, she's actually heading into the wind. Now, I remember reading a very interesting article a few years ago about how with trees, you know, like trees have different ways of protecting themselves. One through thorns, the other one by producing a bit of a sugary substance so that it can attract ants. And then there's the chemical one, where you find tannins within the tree. So tannins basically is what makes a leaf taste more unpleasant, and because of that, animals won't eat the whole tree. That's the tree's way of protecting itself. Now, they suggest when animals start eating some of the trees and they break the trees, that chemical, that with the giraffe moving off, I'll explain as we go along. So anyway, that chemical then blows down, and all the other trees actually like communicate with one another, and those trees produce a higher concentration of tannins, so the giraffe are less likely to be feeding down in that direction, but rather upwind. So it's the whole environment is so intricately designed and fit together. It's pretty amazing. Now, the tree that those giraffes were feeding on is this one right over here. Now, I just want to try to see if I can get a little bit of the branch off here. It's quite a spiky tree. So I think it's probably going to be better just to show it from here, because then I can at least point it against something in the background. But if you have a look at this tree, you'll notice that it has very distinctive thorns. There's one that points forward, and then like one, of course, curling backwards. So this is a buffalo thorn. And this is like, imagine how for a giraffe to be able to feed around here, because just to give you an idea how sharp these thorns are, if I put it on the jacket here, look at how easily they grab on. And you can imagine, like, with a giraffe having to feed and not prick out an eye, how they have to maneuver in this branch and then stretch out the tongue, wrap around the branches, then pull it into their mouth. It's pretty special to see how they can strip leaves off a tree like this, because as I said, it's not an easy tree to do that with. But in the meantime, while we're looking at trees and hopefully finding some lions, let's head across to Andrew at Juma.
Thanks, Nikki. So what we're up to now is that we're still back to these wild dog tracks, and we're just behind them just to see how far they're gone. But the other guys are checking the cut line in the eastern end of Juma just to see if they haven't maybe moved out of here already, because I can guarantee you, if they've been on a road for quite some time, and this is how they do, they use roads, axes, by running. So they do that with a extreme speed, fast enough. So we're on Chindam Road, we're gonna head south. Jim, you're asking what are my favorite animals and why. So if I have to tell the truth, my favorite animal is impala. So, which I know everybody when they say impala, they're so shocked, but it's quite a few things about impala. So they sticking in a group, and that's what they do. And so that they also are very good on you know, how do they breed? It's too dry. They can also hold their baby. They can delay actually give birth when it's not much grass, it's green. And then they're one of these animals that can do that. And they're also beautiful just by looking at them, especially when they're in a group. They really are beautiful. So now I lost these tracks. Cut into the bush where there's a river there. We're just gonna stick on this road. Maybe the tracks will come out and run in front of us. And also they are a mixed feeder impalas. So you've seen them feed, graze and browse. That's what makes them, you know, sustained. I know that comes easy prey or maybe sustainable food source for most cat species. But yeah, that's how I love them. Cool when you watch impalas and they do grooming. They do groom one another. When you see them do that, they take turns where you groom a partner, or the partner in turn will groom you back that way. But the alarm call they also rely on when they're in a group. They don't trust of anything that could be around them, and they almost give alarm call. And that alarm call cooperate with all different species of animal that may be in the area, but also including birds as well. Also pay a lot of attention to a bird's call. So everybody, just a big apology for the picker solish that you also experiencing from time to time this morning. So we're all gonna try our best. I'm gonna check one of the small open area ahead of us. But I lost these tracks for sure now. And then maybe they headed east when they were left inside. So I'm gonna enter that small open area, have a look if there's anything there.
Our competitors are in the room behind me right now for the birding challenge, where they have to look at pictures and identify the birds and then separately listen to bird calls and identify them. But it's not easy. This is going to be the toughest one. Here we have the previous year's winners. You can see they're trying to see if they can remember all the answers, and look at them taking a sneak peek.
Okay, there's another big male coming in from our left here. Another big male, look at this. This is the one. Now you're going to see sparks fly, guys. Guys, it doesn't get better than this, eh? Yes, unbelievable. Africa, I love you, eh?
Expect the unexpected here on WildEarth daily.
Having a look, there's a wildebeest right in front of us here. So he is quite close to the road, so I just don't want to drive past and give him a fright, because you can see how his head's down and he's feeding like close to the road. Let's give him a bit of time, see if he moves. If not, we can always just wait and then go from there. Now, as I mentioned earlier, for this particular area, the last time we saw the lions here was quite a few months ago, but this is also where we saw cheetah. And with the lions being so scattered across this whole, or across the whole of Ngala, we haven't really seen cheetah in a while. I just thought I'd mention it because we often with cheetah and wildebeest, you find them in the same area, more of the open areas. Now, have a look at this wildebeest, how close that head is to the ground. Now, often with wildebeest and zebra, when you see them together, you'll see the zebra would eat the taller grass and then the wildebeest the shorter grass, because the wildebeest will need a grass that's a bit more nutritious. So often the lower parts of the grass, like the lower leaves, might be more nutritious versus the taller parts of it. I just saw something flying in at the back there. Wasn't too sure what it was. Might have been an eagle that went down onto the ground. But we'll go and have a look in a little while. Oh, it is. Look at the back. Well, it's hard to see. I can't even see. I don't know. I'm going to see if I can grab it and have another look. What it might be. It does look like quite a big bird of prey. So what I'm hoping for, let's try and see if we can move a bit closer and have a look at what it is. We're going to try not to disturb this wildebeest too much. We'll just slowly move past them. Oh, talking about zebra. Remember we were talking about the zebra? Let me just see here. We're talking about the wildebeest and the zebra together. Now have a look here in this cover off to the right. It's my favorite animal. So I just want to let all the viewers know we are having some mic issues at the moment, but please just bear with us as we try our best to sort it out. You see how these zebras have moved into this little dense thicket here just to try and get out of the wind. But maybe also because a lot of the animals haven't really gone in there to try and get to the grass, because this time, you can imagine now with all this dead grass at the moment, probably around the edges of those trees where animals haven't really gotten in to try and get to the grass, it might be a bit more nutritious for them, and that's why they're inside. Probably the wildebeest, because of the zebra being around, is also hanging around this area. So for now, with these zebras in here and the wildebeest at the back, they're not going to be moving on in the next little while. What I want to do is I want to slowly carry on, just go have a look, see if we can get that bird of prey again. It might have flown off, but maybe there's a chance. It looked like from the distance, maybe like a young martial eagle, but I'd like to just go and have another look. Now, a martial eagle is probably the biggest eagle that we get in the area. And actually to see it flying is really something amazing. I think it's right here in front. No. Let's just have a look. It might not even be a martial eagle. If we can just get binoculars on it. Yeah, unfortunately he's now moved where we can't see him at all. That's actually quite sad because I do love birding, and that would have been such a nice bird to have a look at. Well, I'm sure we can possibly get another go somewhere along the line. So there was a good question asked. I just couldn't hear it properly. Yeah. Louise, so zebras have different ways of protecting themselves. I mean, one of the most obvious ways is, of course, if they see a predator, is just to move out of the area as soon as possible, as soon as they possibly can. The other thing they can do is, if predators tend to jump on them, they can either kick or bite, most likely try and kick the predator off. And then the other thing is just their coat. You can imagine now they refer to zebra as a dazzle of zebras. So if they all move together, it's really hard to distinguish an individual from the greater group. However, if they can separate one, that's when that zebra will become more vulnerable, because then they can hone in on that particular individual. But hoping that with their cover, that disruptive marking, as soon as they move towards them and they break away, it creates a bit of an illusion so that there's enough time for the zebra to get away before the predators get there. Not always the case, but most of the time it really helps them to get away from those lines. But if they can spot it beforehand, you'll see if zebra spot line, they'll alarm call and they just move off as quickly as they possibly can. There's some lion tracks now that are on the road and they're actually heading in this direction. Now this is a very similar area to where those tracks were called in, so I won't be surprised if this is some of the members of the Pride that have looked out for hunting opportunities and have come back onto the road and using it because it's a lot easier to travel than, for example, going through some of these dense areas on either side of the vehicle. But we'll just keep a good lookout, because I mean, they might have joined up with the Pride, or they might still be on their way there. And we'll be looking out for like a sandy color. Often when they're waiting for the others, they might flick their tails, so any movement, it's nice and cool. So they could be lying down, but most likely also be moving. It's not like it's a really hot day where they can go into the shade of a tree and just lie down for the rest of the day. You can still see the tracks on the road going up in this direction. I would love to point out the tracks, but I just think, like with the light, it's so hard, and like I can't really see them in this. I can only see them once they're right next to me, so it'd be hard for the camera to see the shape of it. So if we do find a nice track somewhere in the sand, we'll try and see if we can point it out. The lion tracks are still here, going in that direction. You know what? Here might be an opportunity to see it. Now, there is a rock. I just want to see if we can see it from here. So see the rock there in the road off to the right. Morgan, if you put the camera quite close to it, we might be able to see. Yeah, do you see the track on the side? I think it's really hard. Sorry, my hat's in the way there. It's hard to see, but if you look at where the rock is just in front of it, there's some disturbance in the sand. So those are actually the line tracks that's heading up the road. So just see slightly to the left, there's like a pad in the sand. Now, what we'll do is, it is heading down this direction while we still have them nice and fresh before the wind covers them. Let's follow these tracks. You can see all the sand being blown by the wind. Line tracks are still going down. Let's just have a look here and see if they cut off. There's a herd of impala now. With the impala being around, it tells us that these line tracks are probably not too fresh. It wouldn't have been over the last half an hour, because those impalas have probably not been here, or we would have heard them alarm calling. So these tracks were from later on, so we'll probably carry on towards the tracks that Yapi has not too far away from us. We're not too far from where he is, maybe another 5 or 10 minutes drive to get there. So no further tracks, but as I said, I think they might have cut off just to our right. There's more impala on this side. There's some more line tracks now going back to where we just came from. So it might I just want to quickly have another look at these tracks. They are cutting down. Might even be worth it just to quickly check a little area down here.
So we finally sitting here at the Treehouse Dam, looking at the grey heron. I was actually on search in the water here. It's probably gone around a circle, so and then it's pretty much the same one, maybe a different one, because I know we also have another one at the Gar Dam there. But they can, change place to another quite often due to the search for fishes, frogs, and all of that. And they wouldn't really bother by the wind. The only thing, maybe they're hunting methods, it's going to be maybe a lot of a challenge, because all these fishes, they go very much to the deep where the water is warm, and the top plate where it's cold, so they won't stick around up to the top. it's just so cool, to watch this bird doing their best. And there are waterbirds which they associate with many others, but they don't really like to be mixed. Every time they're together, there are so much noise going on. So a grey heron is just staring at the water. Possible for any movement of a fish or frogs that may be moving about. But it sometimes can be very difficult or challenge for all, water birds. Those has to be in search for fishes. When it comes to this kind of weather like this, all fishes, they won't be on a shell of water, especially where that bird is sitting. It's pretty much in the edge of the water, so all fish, they would be rather inside to the deep for warm. And this type of tilapia fish that around this watering hole, many of these watering holes, such as catfish, frog would be lantana, that may be inside water permanently, and those will be hunted by a bird such as grey heron, green-backed heron as well. So it's not actually easy morning for us. Anna Marie, you're saying it's so much fun to watch a grey heron stalking for the prey. It is, especially when you see them do that during a warm of a day. With these very skinny legs they got, walk into very much slightly in, but they won't go much. Every time they realize their feather or part of the body is also touched to the water, and then they will probably give up. So they only, maybe seen some movement there. We're just gonna see. See, look at this beak, how sharp it is. And they kill fish by stabbing on it. Also frogs. During the movement, this happens, they sometimes step on the whatever frogs. And then every time that bird will go freeze or stop for that time being, and then to make sure would it dip its beak into that position and get out with the frog. A question from Emma. With so much wind, if I understand your question, so you say do they live solitary the rest of their life? If that was a question, so they're always solitary. They are always a solitary bird. They actually sometimes only time when there's a mating pair, there's a breeding situations, but they always love to be all alone all the time. So for example, if there would be another same species of this bird arriving here, you would hear, call they would make, that I don't want to get disturbed, especially it's not actually a big watering hole. Is that has to be suitable for such a one bird. And I can sometimes fight for over small for a water hole like this. So when I stand straight up, there can be anything from 90 centimeter there in a wingspan of 155, 175 centimeter. It's cool so that the wind sometimes died down, and we just wish it's going to be like this all the entire time, but unfortunately it's a day of a wind today. And then it's going to sit there just like that. And you're asking with the grey heron smaller than the green-backed heron. So the grey heron is bigger than the green-backed. Green-backed small bird, that one. So greenbacks stand only about 40 centimeter long in a wingspan of 80 centimeter. So they're far too small. But there's a glove heron. Probably heard of it. So that one, it's bigger than the grey heron, which the wingspan is anything from over 200 centimeter. And a length of 150 centimeter when they stand still. So that glove heron, you're more likely to find these heron in a very big watering holes, mostly during a wet season. But green-backed heron and these grey heron all year round in this area. Get to see them. And they're well abandoned everywhere where there's a food source for them. They wouldn't stick around. They don't actually hunt in the land. They are waterbirds. If there is not enough of their food that they need, then they won't stick around, they would move. Now this is all the hunting methods that is taking place, trying to make sure, because they can see slightly in the movement that they cannot see underneath the water. Such incredible yawn. Most birds, they would yawn, but it's all about Sandra, so you're asking what are the wingspan of this bird. So a wingspan of 155 over 107 there. And that's the average wingspan of this bird. Yeah, over 175 centimeter. Look at his leg. Just so amazing bird to look at it. They make such a call sometimes when they hear it, especially at night when they flew from waterhole to another. They do call that. If you don't know really, you would think maybe something scary up in the air. Just such a cool to spend time with birds, especially water birds. They do a lot of things. They're not just, especially this one, since we got here, it's been actually moving about, so that is also entertaining very much. So they also breed well anyway, and then seems to be depend where you find them, and somewhere June, August, depend where you are. If you're in Zimbabwe, they probably June, that's where they breed very much. But except for that, all year, summer month, they actually tend to breed very well. And they usually anything from 4 eggs, with the incubation for about 26, 28 days, but by both male and female. And they're nestling for about 20 or so 30 days, which is such an incredible for such a bird. It's amazing that they won't cooperate with one another during the forage, but during the breeding and all taking care of their incubations, they cooperate. And now it just changed the position.
As we celebrate Women's Month in South Africa, we acknowledge and thank those women committed to conservation, working tirelessly both on the front lines and behind the scenes. The Endangered Wildlife Trust is proud of the women who dedicate their lives to fighting to save species, conserve habitats, and benefit people. Here's to strong women everywhere who are dedicated to protecting forever together.
For me, the best part about being a guide is being able to live out in Africa's wild places and being able to share that with people. Of all the challenges, for me, the one that I'm probably the most comfortable with is the game drive. I think that's what I do most days, so that would probably be what I feel like I'd do the best at. It's like someone's put little Lego blocks up there and made this perfect little sort of statue, and there's another one further along as we drive. One of the challenges I'm the most nervous about would probably be shooting. I think on the day there's always quite a bit of pressure and intimidation, always associated with it, but I guess we'll see how it goes. I hope I'll win this competition, but if I don't, it's still been an experience of a lifetime, and I've learned a lot and met a lot of really, really cool people.
I've seen something I've never seen here before. Look at these cubs. One is crossing the river. It's being washed away, unfortunately, but I'm sure the mother is going to save her. Look at that. How beautiful. Look at that. One crossing, two to go. How cool is this?
Expect the unexpected here on WildEarth daily.
So we're still sitting here looking at this bird, and then now there's another member that's moving about, but that won't bother this bird because that blacksmith lapwing, they always permanently inland when they search around just like that, but they won't go in the water very much. They're only gonna go slightly, but also search for worms that may be moving about on the edge of the water as well. And then that one you may see also far from the land, from the watering hole. Just sitting there, it reminds me of the crane, which is, we don't see much of a crane around here. Also, there's one of the crane, blue crane, which is our national bird. Often find these one pretty much in the open land. So everybody, we have enough look at the bird over here, so we're gonna move around about, and in the meantime let's see what Nick and Ngala has got for us.
So we managed to find one of the lions that we were looking for this morning. Now, it was such a funny story. So I was going down off on foot to try and find this lioness because I saw the tracks there. And as I was driving, next moment I just heard Morgan saying, like, she's behind the vehicle. And I was basically stuck, or the line was between me and Morgan. And so it was quite an adventure to try and get him in the vehicle to come and grab me. But you can see the way this lioness is looking around. You can see she has her head down to the ground, constantly sniffing. And what I'm trying to imagine is she's probably looking for the rest of the pride. Now, looking on the front of her chest, looks like there's a bit of blood. So she probably went out hunting. Now, this is one of the mothers of the cubs. So I think it would be really worth it for us to stay with her and see where does she go. She might even lead us back to the cubs or even the rest of the pride. So we're going to try and stick with her for the next little while. She has chosen quite a difficult area. So you might see we are going to take this nice and slow and try and maneuver through this thicket here. You can see there's a lot of trees in front of us. We're just going to keep your eyes on her. She's just in front of us here. She's now turning around. And I wonder if she's lost the scent. So I've positioned myself in a really hard position here. Let me try and see if I can do this better without having my cap in there. So now I'm going to lean out of the way so that the camera can go over me. Look at how well she just blends in. Like, I mean, if she had to go and lie down now, there's no way that someone would see her. If she carries on that way, she might be heading back towards the road where we had the tracks on. So let's just see where she goes. All right, let's try and keep up, because if she disappears in front there and we don't keep up with her, we are going to lose her. Okay, I can still see her. I'm just going to slowly move forward. She's right in front of us now, so I don't want to move too much. You can hear there's a lot of noise, like as we're trying to off-road towards her. So we don't really want to disturb her at all. We'll give her an opportunity to look for whatever she's looking for. Maybe it's her cubs. Maybe it's the fact that she's looking for the rest of the pride. I mean, but look at how muscular this female is. If she turns just off to the left or right, you'll see like this on the side of her ribs. You can see all the muscles around her shoulder. She's a very strong lioness. Just have a look at that. Renee, in this case, I would say yes, because of how old and experienced she is. Sometimes if lions get separated from the pride, especially youngsters, might not be able to join back up with the pride again. So there is a termite mound there, so I'll have to try and find a different way around. But with this lioness, she will most likely find the pride again. She will track them down, and if she can't find them, she'll call them. And you'll often hear this low contact call. low frequency contact call, but let me just try see if I can get around to where she is now. So there are a few branches. Morgan, just have a good look so I don't accidentally scratch you there. And also just try and keep a lookout on where she is. It's actually very hard to follow her. We can't get through here. Just trying to figure a way around. Maybe there's a gap in here we can push through. No. So I'm just trying to maneuver my way around here. Try to see if we can stay with her. Probably try to see, Morgan, if we can get through here around. Because the thing is, like, if she moves too far away from where we are now, we might not be able to catch up again. Okay, so the last thing we try and do is drive over a Turmo Mount. So we just want to hug the side here around. Quickly, let's head across to Lauren while we try and find this lioness again.
We had a honey.
Let's just see if we can get other views of it, but I had. It's there. Yeah.
Oh well, let's keep bubbling. The gremlins have been out in full force for Team Wendy today, but we have done a lot of searching. High and low, and all the little secret places that we know about that are not so easy to access with the vehicles. But we did it. And no luck with Miss Kalamba. We had our tracks going all the way east on Central, and then they do disappear. So she goes off into the block around sort of Vulture's Nest area. So, I mean, we are heading back inland again. Through gremlins in the wind. It is a tough one. My hat keeps on falling off. I don't know if any of you have Kalamba was with mud on the damn can. I don't know if any of you have that note deep down. I don't have those notes on me. But that date would be very good to know. And sometimes Kalamba can go for miles.
So we have left the watering hole, continuing our search around here. So we do pick up on the line from the dam there, and they actually headed this way southwards in the Wangaraman. We just finally check the boundary if they did cross to the south, but now it looks like it was not one anymore, so there were two. So we're going to double check soon.
So we're still tracking this lioness that hopefully is tracking the other lions. Now, you can see how she keeps her head quite close to the ground. And she's still trying to figure out exactly where they've gone. And it's interesting that she hasn't called to them yet. It might be maybe because of the fact that the wind is blowing so hard that she knows, like, even if she starts calling, it'd be in vain. I'm not sure. But you know what I want to do, though, is we're going to try and push through this thicket here. We have to. So, Morgan, please be very careful. Buffalo thorn, either side. Just try not to get too scratched up here. Ooh. Do you think we'll be able to get through?
Yeah.
Sure. Okay. You can see there she's going just in front of us. I'm just trying to maneuver slowly through here. It might take a little bit more time to get through this, so I apologize. It just caught Morgan by the hair, so it might take some time before we're gonna carry on. So let me just see what we can do with this branch. I am sorry, we're waiting just to. Okay, I'm gonna slowly maneuver forward. Just hold on, sorry. So we had to push through some buffalo thorns there, but it was an absolute treat seeing Morgan's face as we were going through, because at a stage his hair got caught in the branches, and I had to keep myself from not laughing too hard on camera. But you can see this lioness is coming back straight towards us, so she's still probably trying to find the scent of the rest of the pride. It's often, you don't really see, like sometimes with the lioness, whenever they do pick up on the scent, it doesn't take too long before they eventually catch up with the pride. However, she's just been going back and forth. It might be that they themselves were hunting and then she has the scent of the one and then it crosses over with the other one, then she's following that scent. But it'd be interesting if we give it a bit of time and eventually see where she leads us. I mean, this is going to be our best chance of finding the rest of the pride. Because without her, you can also notice there's no way of really tracking because it's just grass everywhere. So you can't really see a print on the sand. Even the direction of the grass, the wind is moving it constantly. So if we stick with her, she might just lead us straight towards the pride. Or even the youngsters. That would also be such a treat. Okay, let's try and follow her. Now this lioness, based on what I've seen, is one of the Birmingham lionesses. Now, the one distinguishing feature of her, she has a scar on her right eye. Now, she's the one also that has the oldest set of the cubs that we are going to be hoping to see if we keep on following her. She's now moving straight back towards where we came from. Might be that we have to do this buffalo thorn all over again. Morgan reckons it sounds like a lot of fun, but I'll try to see if we can maybe find a different way to follow her. You can see it's really dense in front of us. I'm just going to move like this because I can see her through this gap. See how she's just like moving around, like trying to figure out exactly where they are. And it might be for the next little while. Anna Marie, I agree with you. She blends in so well. I can't see her at the moment, so let's move around, try to see if we can get a gap from the other side. Hoping that she doesn't come back exactly here while we're trying to do that. But we just have to keep a good look at, like, I can't even see her at the moment. Like, I know she's right here somewhere, but I can't see her. Just want to slowly push through this. So while we're trying to find this lioness again, to spend some time with her, let's head across to Tswalu in Cape Town.
Good morning, everyone. Welcome to Cozy Bay here in Cape Town. Slightly less cozy than the name implies, because it's very windy and it's very cold. As you can see, I'm quite laid up. And it's me, Tswalu. I've got Jandre on camera with me. I'm shoeless because I thought that I wanted to walk in the water, walk on the rock pools, and have a good morning out with you all. You can see it's really windy. We're luckily sheltered just a little bit where we are. And the sun has come out, which is just fabulous, and is warming me up a little bit. You know how cold I can get. Anyway, what we're hoping to do this morning is to obviously explore a few of the rock pools here. Most of them are still covered, but we're going to go over to the other end in a bit, and hopefully we'll be able to see some there. We've also got some seals out at sea. There's some cormorants as well, and we'll look at all those things. And we're hoping, or at least I'm hoping, that we can find an anemone for you, because I really, really like them. So an anemone is a type of cnidarian, and we'll talk more about them in a bit when we actually, or if I can actually find one. But there's also heaps of things that have washed up on the beach that we'll have a good look at as well. I can already see bits of sea lettuce and other algae and things like that along the way. So we'll take a walk together and see where it takes us. And the sand on this beach is very rough, and rough sand often gets pushed up onto the beach when there's quite a lot of wave action. There's a whole succession that happens with, and you can tell a lot about the shoreline by looking, or tell a lot about the wave action by looking at the type of sand that you get. If it's really rough grained like this, it's probably quite a rough sea. And you see those grains? That's mostly just sand, which is basically silica. They're nice and pebbled, so it takes a lot of time for that to become soft, golden sand. If you are, okay, so I'm from KZN, so I'm thinking about it in that terms, and that's where I learned a lot about the sea and the beach. And if you go to the wild coast, it's also sand like this. If you go further north, in the north coast of KZN, it's also sand like this because it's a little bit rougher. And if you look at actual Durban beach, the sand is very smooth. So it shows you that there's a difference. And as you know, in the wild coast, the sea is quite rough. And it's not usually an advisable place, just because of the currents. Now, other fancy things that I'm hoping to find, not just today, but as we go about on the beach, things like the Cape Clawless otter. That would be fabulous to see. Seals, obviously. No penguins on this beach, unfortunately. Maybe a shark or two. Can you see me? I'm getting blown away by this wind. I had to concentrate further up at the car park. I had to concentrate on not being blown away. But apparently I've not seen anything yet. So as we move through, I almost don't want to move out of the sunlight, but I'm going to have to. As we move through, let's see what we can find. These rocks are pretty bare. These rocks are those granite intrusions that I told you about yesterday. When we were talking, I think it was yesterday, when we were talking about the geology of this area. Was it the day before? There we go. How about a little spot here. And I actually see quite a lot of sea vegetation, lots of algae. Here's some here. The majority of the algae species are edible in this area, with one exception, I believe. Jandre knows all about edible plants in this area. Yep, he says we can eat this. You want to try it, Jandre? So I'm quite used to recognizing like sea lettuce, alva in the water, because it's so easy to see the green color. So it's a little bit drab. I don't know if it's an alva species or not. A piece for you. And a piece for me. Salty, fishy. It almost tastes like nori, which is the thing they roll sushi in. I was about to say what they roll fungi. Swallow this. Yep. Okay. Chandra. There you go. So lots and lots of edible species that you can find here, not just at the sea, but also in this general area. So up in the vegetation, the mountains, there's lots of edible species too. Anyway, we're going to get moving, get over to the other rock pools and see if we can find anything there.
It's been a very chilly winter here in the southern hemisphere, but now it's starting to heat up. The sun is rising a little earlier, which means, of course, the animals are too. From the 17th of August, the WildEarth team will be venturing out as the dawn chorus begins, as the sunrise safari will be starting half an hour earlier. Lock those times into your diary and set those alarms to make sure you don't miss out on your safari through the African bush.
Guiding as an industry has become, over time, more and more professional and more recognized as a profession rather than just a hobby. And so to be recognized for that professionality is really kind of it's humbling, really, to be able to say that. It's definitely birding is the thing that I feel most comfortable with in terms of categories that we have here. At least comfortable. I mean, you never know how you're going to shoot on a particular day. You can have a good day where you blast everything as you need to, in terms of the targets, and then you can have a shocker where you just, miss a single shot here or there, and that's basically the end of your day. To be considered for such an experience is really a powerful thing, and so I'm here just to have a lot of fun and experience what the competition's all about.
You are cheeky. That was a brave decision. Amber Eyes is... That is so magic. That was absolutely wonderful. Amber Eyes just gave that cub an enormous hug.
Expect the unexpected here on WildEarth daily.
It's a huge privilege to be in these incredible places with these amazing animals. I love filming lions. When they do get up and do something, it's always spectacular. When they are playing, are incredibly fun to watch, especially subalterns and cubs. I love being in the bush and working in these incredible places with these amazing animals. We want to bring it to you so that you can almost feel like you're right there and be able to experience it and enjoy it the way we are.
So everybody, we're still on search. Now we've seen the vultures flying, but they're actually pushed by the wind, so we can't tell exactly which way they want to fly into, since the wind is blowing to the north and then the wind forces them to the north. So we can't tell what is happening around here, what has happened. So we're gonna keep driving maybe we'll come across what there is in there flying around here for. It's not actually very easy for bird or vultures to hunt or to respond to a kill if it's too windy. So the wind sometimes will push them different way, and eventually in the end they're not getting to where they want to go. BK, look at this bird here. Let's see what is. Hopefully, if this magnificent colored bird stays for us, that's the lilac-breasted roller there. You can see how they're all hiding from the wind, just sitting like this. All they do is make sure that they look they're bigger, but it's because of their feather that it's been actually a little bit increased. And so we're going to carry on, everybody. I'm going to send you across to Nikki and Ngala.
So she's picked up on this trail and she's moving a lot quicker through this area. Now we are getting onto a crest, and I'm just hoping that as soon as the trail gets a lot fresher for her, she's just going to pick up the pace and we're going to head straight towards the pride. I don't think she's hunting, because often with lions, if they do hunt, they'll keep on moving until they find something or scent, and then they'll approach from there. But with her constantly having her nose to the ground, she is most likely looking out for the pride. And you can see now, head still down, probably on a bit of a scent there. She is a beautiful lioness. You can actually see the shoulder muscles. Look at the red between the legs, probably from a recent kill. She's back onto a game trail. She's probably just trying to smell if that's the one they went up, or maybe one on this side. I mean, it's right here. Okay, let's see. Maybe it could be there. Horse lover, I agree with you. Look at her. She is on a mission. Head up, ears tilted forward. See how she's now like changed direction? That could have been like, maybe the pride was definitely, or could have been hunting here, because just the way she's moving is very, like, it's not in a specific direction. It's like she's basically just trying to figure out exactly where they've gone. And that could have happened. Like, they could have moved, then she saw something hunt split up, and then she picks up the one trail, then another, then the other. And it's probably going to be when they join back together and start moving where she's going to have one scent and just follow that. Now I'm trying to see her again. I can't see her because she blends in so well. Morgan, you can still see her? Yeah. Okay. So I just want to... Oh, I can see her moving now. Just mind these branches. I'm just going to try and do this again. There might be some branches, so we're going to just slowly maneuver them above the camera as we follow this line. So, Morgan, you could be the branch manager here. Damn it. I'm going to slowly move. Right. Let's try. Can you still see her? Yeah, here she is, just on the side of us. She's now a bit more on a mission. She's picked up her pace. going to try and move into this spot here, and then we can try and see her. Yeah, just imagine if we can follow her until eventually she joins up with her cubs or the pride. That would be incredible. She's just moved in behind that bush. Okay, let's go around. Rosemary, it is very interesting behavior. And you know what, like she is, I think a lot of tracking skills, a lot of the methods that were developed are developed around how animals actually use their senses. Like, have you seen what she did? And so just while we're watching her here, I just want to explain. So you can imagine if, let's say this circle here, we can use the vehicle as a circle. So the lines have crossed in here, then she loses the tracks. Now, lines could go anyway around it. So what she does is she basically moves on this side, and if she doesn't get a scent, and then she gets a scent, and then she carries on. So she does these little circular loops until she gets back onto the track. And you could have seen like the direction the lines were constantly changing as well. Let's go back to her. It's very interesting to watch this and follow her. And one can learn so much from tracking just by following her and seeing how she uses her senses to try and direct herself to where the pride might be. No, she's just right in front of us now. See, lifting her head, smelling. See, remember those circles we were talking about? See how she's now doing another circle? Let's see, until she probably picks up on the scent, and then she'll change direction, probably towards her right is where she'll go then. See how she's now changed towards her right. All right, let's follow her around. Looks like she's now keeping quite a steady pace, okay. And as I said she just dropped her head and... Oh, no, she's actually keeping a good pace. I'm going to move like this, just to show you like the speed at which she's moving now. We can see that gap there. I think she might just move through there soon. You'll see it's more of a mission now. She's actually almost like started picking up on the scent. And because of that, she is picking up her pace, which is really good, because that means it might not be too long before we find the rest of the pride. Okay, she's gone up here now. And it's amazing because she keeps her head down, she smells the ground, then she smells the trees on the side. Like sometimes if a lion brushes against the side, she might be able to pick up that scent. Okay, so there's more, she's moving more intense now, which is always a good sign. I wonder also with the wind blowing as hard as it is today, if that didn't maybe influence her ability to track them faster. But for now, as we're going to try and pursue her and keep with her the whole time, let's head across to Tswalu on the coast.
Oh, a big gust of wind just came through. Luckily, it's calmed in time for you all to join us again. We're looking now at the Cape fur seal again, or the South African fur seal. At the Cape South African fur seal. The fur seals that we get here, I find, is that they have tiny little, I thought they were calling, they're tiny little external ear bits. So normally seals have pinnae, which is the internal ear bits, but not many of them have external parts, and these ones have these tiny little knobs on their ears. They're prey species. Just trying to hold on to my things, everyone. My book's flying, my radio's flying, my hair's flying, my cap's flying. But I am still composed. Ooh. Just give it a second. I hope that you can't hear all this wind. Let me just turn this way. That's better. So, while we actually talk a little bit about the seals, you may see them behind my shoulder, I'm not sure. But so we call the males bulls, and the females cows, and the youngsters are pups or calves. All terminology you're familiar with, right? It also makes it quite easy to remember when we refer to them. It's like I said, a favorite prey of great white sharks, which are also commonly found along this coast. Although, having spoken to some of my sharky friends lately, they say that they actually haven't seen great whites in quite a while. So usually you might find them around Gans Bay and then down this way as well, but they haven't been seeing them in a while. I think the last one that they had seen was a bronzy shark, which is a bit... Well, it's not totally worrying. The sharks have to go somewhere. Maybe they've just decided to move away. I actually experienced that in the past as well, when certain experiments were being conducted, not on the sharks, but like on shark repellent barriers and stuff like that, so electrical barriers. Sharks would realize there's something going on and then just move away and not come back for years, which is an interesting behavior. But also remember that sharks have such a large area that they move through, that just because they're not concentrated in one area we're used to seeing them in doesn't mean that they're, suddenly disappeared. They could be anywhere in the world. I remember tagging a shark, or remember receiving information about a tagged shark that had gone from Gans Bay, this coast, all the way to Australia, and then had come back in a number of times. So we must just keep that in mind when we think about the sharks. But the concern here is that this is a favorite prey of them, and we have lots of Cape fur seals along the coast. So they should be in this area. Well, we talked about what eats the Cape fur seals, but what about what they eat? They love octopus, they love fish. They'll pretty much grab anything that they can that's up with substantial weight, a substantial mass. You don't usually see them going for birds though, because birds require you to digest feathers, and not like leopards that can just pluck fur and feathers off things. Did you see me almost get blown away? I was about to lurch for Jandre's leg. Now can you see why I'm all tugged up? I have like 2 jackets. I have like a thermal thing underneath and a normal shirt. So, okay. Sorry, I'm just moving my cap and my mic's in the cap.
Thank you, Matt.
Thanks, Elton. Elton, our director, has just said, "Cool, you deal with that wind." We're gonna find a slightly more cozy place in Cozy Bay.
can imagine it's quite windy in Cape Town because here the wind is blowing us away, and it might be that there was a cold front coming in from that side, up to where we are in South Africa. I just want to have a look and see the directions he's going in now. So she has picked up the pace. It's a lot less now that she's actually keeping her head close to the ground or having to stop and smell. So it's a good sign for us. It means we are getting close and the scent is getting stronger. Okay, so I'll have to go into this game trail, else we won't be able to follow her. Sorry, it's a bit of a mission turning in very tight spaces with this vehicle. Okay, now we need to try. Okay, I can see her. Just mind the branches there, Morgan. Oof, especially this branch off to the right. Where is she now? Yeah, I think we've just lost her. Okay, let's try and go through here. I think she might have just picked up the pace a little bit there. Mind the branches.
So everybody, since we're missing the vulture that was flying around, we managed to find them, but we cannot tell what they were finishing it off here and what could kill that. But we got a whole bunch of them here, and they probably just finished whatever it was. And then it happens every day walks their way around here. Because if it was the lions, they wouldn't move fast enough out of this area. I would think of maybe these dogs, we saw their tracks earlier on. It was just an amazing how they managed to find these kill here. Because they came from the south, so they were just following wind straight right away. So they might have a very sense. Smell is very strong. And most of them are white-backed vultures that we see here. White. So it's just a quick apologize for the pixelation again. That is happening every now and then. It's just amazing to see such a beautiful, a lot of the vultures.
So we've basically lost sight of her, and we're trying to see if we can find her again. And we don't know if she's turned back to We're just slowly driving here to see if there's any signs of her coming down towards this particular area we're at now. Let me just have a look. If nothing, we'll just go back slightly to where we last had her. The other thing is she could also have decided to go and lie down in the grass, and that's why we just couldn't see her. Okay, I think what I'll do is I just want to head back to where we last saw her because we can't see her anymore. That was very strange. She disappeared so quickly. Can't see anything yet now. The last time we had her, she was basically in front of us here, coming down in this direction. And yeah, so the general direction was coming down here, and then we couldn't see her anymore. So let's just slowly go back and just see if she didn't go and lie down in the grass. On the branches. Oh, here she is. Morgan. Yes, you little... Morgan's quite the spotter here. Here she is. See how she's even smelling the grass? Because those grass would have tapped against those lines as they were moving through here. She's such a beautiful lioness. See how she's now turned around? I don't think she's very confident in this track coming down here. She probably feels like maybe from the scent that she has been following, this is the weaker scent. So she's not wanting to spend too much time going down this way to have a look. That's why she's looping around again. And it might be as the wind direction was changing as well, the movement of this pride changed, and that's what she's trying to figure out.
Every year in August, South Africa marks Women's Month. WildEarth would like to acknowledge and thank all the amazing females who have worked tirelessly to share our nature with the world.
We're gonna have to just wait, okay? She's gonna come out there just on my right-hand side, and she can see these impala.
Now you've got to inhale it. It burns. I don't know if it's supposed to work instantly.
Go, girl, go! Get her! Get her, girl, get her! I'm so looking forward to following her story in the future.
I'm really hoping there's two. I'm really hoping there's two. But you know, even if there's one, Oh my goodness, everyone.
And I get to share it with you. Isn't that extra special? I get to experience it and show it to everyone.
Birding has just been a passion of my life since I was knee-high to a grasshopper.
It was quite a big challenge, so...
It didn't go as well as planned. But lots of birds, especially the small ones, larks and fireflies.
Because you can get a series of calls that you don't quite get.
Today has all been about the birds from start to finish, and we're now on a barge, a little river cruise in the most beautiful setting, still looking out for birds.
There's really been an amazing vibe amongst the five of us, you know, helping each other out where we can, going through our bird calls when we can. Being in the bush, sounds of the birds, cool sunset, you can see the background. So, yeah, it's another world.
Oh, it's going to be in trouble now. Oh, this is unbelievable stuff. Here comes a hippo in too. Go, Impala. There's a hippo coming in. I can't believe what we're seeing here. This is what we normally see in East Africa. It's all over. Hippo leaping at the crocodile now. Everything's gone underwater.
Expect the unexpected here on WildEarth daily.
So we just maneuvered the vehicle a slight bit. You see the prominent game trail that's right next to the vehicle. See the bare patch of soil that's going in a line. So that's a trail that animals will use the whole time, back and moving from one area to another. And the Pride could have moved here, so she's now trying to see if there's any scent here. She might even come back onto that line, see where it is, and see if she can smell any sign of it. See, she's now gone onto it. Looks like she might have picked up the trail again. Well, should we try and follow her? Now I'm trying to see how to best maneuver the vehicle so we can just have a look at where she might be going. So I just want to quickly turn like this, go forward one more time. Well, you know what, I'm just going to stop because it looks like she is actually coming back to us now. Alright, she's been moved us behind us again. So this is exactly where she was earlier on. So I just want to try and see if I can see her. Well, you know what I might do? Let me move forward, see if I can get another glimpse of her. And there she is. Oh, she's really not making this easy. Morgan, can you get into this angle here? Yeah, she's actually moving from that thicket into more of an open area there. You might just see some movement, but she is moving quite steadily. Let's try to see if we can go back a bit and get at least another glimpse of her. But for now, like, what an amazing morning, being able to see all the different reserves, going down to the coast, and then also being able to, here in Ngala, follow a lioness in her pursuit to try and join up with the rest of the pride. So let's hope and see, maybe by this afternoon she would have joined up, but it'd be worth it for us just to stick with her just for the next little while.